wonderful things today. I woke up and took a look at what was going on in the weather. It said snowing. So I looked out my window, no snow. So that's kind of a nice thing. It's still cool though, very cool. But that's the time of the year. And the other thing that surprised me was it's about 2.5 weeks to Christmas already. It's going fast, going fast. Now, on Wednesday, when I did Norma Talks, I used a little booklet I wrote called The Spiritual Principles of Wealth, as sort of as a basis to start. But I thought I would carry on a little bit on that. In the spiritual principles, I talk about forgiveness, goal setting, tithing, and divine purpose. Now, so today, because this is a shorter time of talking, I want to talk about forgiveness. Coming up to Christmas, very often, what will happen, we will not be in a state of forgiveness of everything. So this is something to think about. And what I've written here, so I'm going to kind of read it, it's easier. When you are not in a state of forgiveness, you will have blocks. The unforgiven resentments, guilt, and the unreleased emotions create far more restriction in your life than you are aware. And because if you look at talking about wealth or money, as you said, or that's part of that, but it also is about other things. So to be clear, to receive, your heart needs to be open. You need to be able to feel worthy of receiving, whether it's friendship, whether it's opportunity, or whatever it is that you're wanting and requiring. This is where forgiveness is so important, especially of self. We forget sometimes we just need to forgive ourselves for being who we are. All the guilt and regrets you hold on to will block you from receiving whatever it is you want and require. Now, what I did was create a little meditation for myself and then students that I taught over the years. And it's called the Forgiveness River. So listen, and you may want to follow through with this too. Imagine a river. Imagine how it looks. Is it smooth and straight? Is it quiet and deep? Or does it have a waterfall? Note all the details and then look to see how many rocks you have in the river. Now just think about this. You're imagining a river. You can close your eyes or whatever. Imagine a river. It can be any kind of river. But then you need to look at the bottom of the river and see how many rocks. And you might want to make a note of the size of them as well. The rocks depict the people or situations you need to forgive. You may have a lot of rocks, maybe the little wee ones, or you may have some big ones, or one or two big ones. Then you pick a rock and you ask the rock what it represents. Listen carefully to the answer. You see, we're very creative people. And if we utilize our mind, we can open up so many doorways and remove and clear many of the obstacles that we have. By asking the rocks what they represent, you can discover who and what you need to forgive. I did this quite a bit for a long time. Always surprised me from the very first time I looked in my forgiveness. And I'll talk about this a little bit. The first time I looked in my forgiveness river, and I remember it very well because I was in Vancouver on a hot day driving around in a big truck, getting ready for my Psychic ESP Fair circuit, which I organized. And anyway, to make a long story short, I'm driving along downtown Vancouver. You've ever been downtown Vancouver, driving a lot of traffic? I went, okay, where's my river? Okay, what's in my river? And there was this big rock. So I says to the rock, I have it written here. And I say to this, I asked the rocks, who do you represent? I was super shocked and surprised when my ex-husband's name came up. Why? It's because I thought everything was clear. I was clear about it. So I'm driving through I say, okay, what do I have to forgive him for? I thought I'd already done it. Nothing. And then I opened my mouth and said out loud, I forgive you for, and words came spilling out. Loads of little things, loads of things that I had even forgotten about that had been put aside. So what's important here, first of all, is recognize your imagination is not an imagination. It can work as a reality buffer. Now, forgiveness in itself opens many doors. I have found it extremely important to forgive yourself first. When you forgive yourself for your part of the event or situation, then it is very easy to forgive the other participants. Adrienne Gaines, who's a prosperity teacher I studied with, states, if you are in a physical body, you need to do forgiveness work every day. You may not have to do it every day, but if you're beginning to want to create in your life, sometimes that's important. It is said, if you do only one thing to create wealth and nothing else, do forgiveness work because it clears the blocks away. I had to work on that for some time in my life when I was creating and running business, in fact, several, and home and everything else. But it's like you cannot allow in if you've got these blocks. Blocks are what stop the world going on. In my little booklet, I have these things, and I have a forgiveness list so that you can keep track of what you need to forgive. Because sometimes when you're looking at a river, there's many rocks. You can actually get a list on them. But I found for myself it was much more effective to pick one rock and work with it. Like the first one was a big rock, but then there were lots of little ones, little things that you could hold on to, or you didn't let go, or you didn't feel, you might have felt resentful over something that happened, or they're so very unforgiving, right? We want things to be the way we want them. But if we want a placid life, if we want a life to run smoothly, if we want to achieve what we want, in other words, we can't, we're taught to ask for, and I'll get into goal setting as we even get closer to Christmas, but we're taught to ask for what we want. And there's many ways of doing that. But if we are not clear in our hearts and in our mind about situations, if we have a river with lots of I have a memory of one of my students saying, I've got all this little rocks everywhere. And well, okay, go through and find out, maybe ask to be separated into different aspects so that you know what you're dealing with. We don't always know where our resistance is. That's a good word, resistance, where we're resistance, because we don't want to believe that we're not these open, wonderful people, where we don't want to believe sometimes those things. But the reality is that sometimes we harbor resentments, we harbor anger, even to ourselves. And so that's why forgiving yourself, I always found was very important, because sometimes the rocks will show that self will come up. You've got to forgive yourself for being you. We endeavor to be the best we can be, but we're human. And being human sometimes means that we're not the best. We do harbor things, and we do create these elements from ourselves. And as I've written here, as my eyes go down onto my little booklet, forgiveness opens many doors. I have found it extremely important to forgive yourself first. Here we go again. When you forgive yourself, and I think I've read this already, but anyway, we'll do it again. Part of the event, then it is very easy to forgive other participants. Do you want your life to flow? Do you want to have surprises? That's what I have found in my life. I have had a lot of miracles happen in my life out of nowhere. Things just worked when I had, it was like nothing, looked like nothing was going to happen. Miracles happened. And a lot of that is because of all the forgiveness work I did, where I didn't harbor and I didn't hold on to, and I didn't, feel stuck because of some emotion I was carrying. And I realized when this little booklet kind of came back in my hands the other day, that I had not, in the last while, with just being ill, etc., I had pulled away from a lot of basic things I did, and this was one of them. And it was interesting that it's come back, and so I'm following the elements that I've got in this little booklet, which is why I'm talking about them in the next probably in a few more sessions. But I really, really, really find it really works well. Well, anyway, give it some thought. Sit back, imagine a river, ask, is there anything in this river I need to forgive? And then look for the rocks. And then when you see a rock or many rocks, ask, what do you represent? And you can, from then, you can basically forgive. You'll say, do I have anything here about that? I should have said somewhere here what to actually say. Just a second. I'll just see. I'll just check. I don't think I do. Oh, I've got down very bottom. To complete your forgiveness work, you need to move into an alignment with the universal love force, something I'm always talking about. And then I've got to turn to page 28, which I'm on page 12. Exercise 11 to do the exercise there. And then this will help you with forgiveness work you need to do. So that we'll leave that for another day, and we'll talk about that, because this little booklet's full of little exercises that I created to help myself, because I was at a time of knowing I needed to create monies without getting stuck, etc. So anyway, page 28, we're not there. Hang on, I just wanted to see, maybe a connection exercise. I'm going to leave that for next time. How to connect into the loving source, how to be at one with that, because we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. We get busier and busier, the majority of people's, and this might be a time just to settle everything down. I trust you will have a great week. And all things will be brought to you that you require and need. And you will think about, looking at your forgiveness river. It works. It truly, truly does. Blessings. And bye for now.